conflicting moral guidelines.
Many people think that the God of the Old Testament and the New Testament differs from each other. They think that God does change, and the God of the Old Testament is a brutal dictator who just seeks the death of his own people, and that Jesus, on the other side, in the New Testament, is an all-loving hippie who just preaches love and peace. But that's simply not true. Here are two verses in the Old Testament which show God's mercy. Nehemiah 9, "But you are a God who forgives, you are gracious and loving, slow to be angry. Your mercy is great, you did not forsake them." And another one, "The Lord is patient and is great strength. The Lord will never let the guilty go unpunished." You see that God is a loving and gracious God even in the Old Testament. God's love never has changed. That's the reason why you and me are still alive. But God's moral standard has also never changed. Look at Mark 11, where Jesus gets really angry. Jesus went into the temple and began to throw out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the money changers' tables and the chairs of those who sold pigeons. Or read this at Matthew 23, "You snakes, you poisonous snakes, how can you escape being condemned to hell?" Yeah, to sum it up, God, with all his different characteristics, does not change, and he will never let go sinners unpunished, but he will also never run out of mercy. And that's the reason why there is still a heaven and a hell. And so I pray for you that you may realize that God's moral guidelines does not change, and that he as a person stays the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Conflicting this, conflicting that, everything conflicting everything else. I think the alien would safely dismiss the Bible's validity as evidence, especially if he didn't just read the Bible, but also studied the Bible's history, how it was edited together, and how certain books were left out, and certain books were changed over time by kings and popes and angry priests who didn't like one idea or the other, and how the early sects of Christianity were all warring with one another, trying to decide who was the real Christianity, and all that stuff.
The very first Christians had a problem we do not have nowadays. They lacked the Bible, or at least they didn't have the New Testament, and so they weren't sure how to behave in certain situations, and this resulted in a few arguments and fights between Christians. I have to admit that, of course. But to prove who was right or wrong, God used signs and miracles, to confirm those people who followed him in the right way. And he also used chosen servants like the Apostle Paul, who instructed other Christians the Christian lifestyle and some rules and all this stuff. But in the year 396, a special council put together the Bible we know today, and since that date the Bible did not change. You can find hundreds of old writings and scripts which are almost identical with our current Bible. And after the completion of this Bible, the Bible we have today, everyone should know how to gather in a church, or how to convince other people of the Lord Jesus Christ and all this stuff, because we have an absolute standard, common standard, which is of course our Bible. But even if there were great differences and combats among Christians, why should that change God himself? See, Mahatma Gandhi did not want his followers to fight against Muslims, but they did. Did that change Mahatma Gandhi himself? No, of course not. See, others may misunderstand the Bible and found some sects and cults and all this stuff, but this does not change the Bible itself. It's not God's fault when his followers are disobedient. He instructed us to love our neighbors and even our enemies. And if everyone would stick to these guidelines, we would not have all these different ascendancy and camps and so on.